Hey there, guys. Welcome to the channel. So one thing you can always say about the Dems, they will stick together, no matter how nasty, no matter how crooked and corrupt. Al Franken has got to be thinking, man, I got tossed over a boob picture. They must have freaking hated me, man.
House Democrats will defend President Biden today. We will defend President Biden tomorrow. We will defend President Biden next week. We will defend President Biden next month. We will defend President Biden next year. We will defend President Biden until the very end.
I think the impeachment inquiry is absurd. The American people want us to do something that will make their lives better, not go off on these chases and witch hunts. The bottom line is, as we have said, you can only accomplish keeping the government open in a bipartisan way.
All right, so I'm still excited about this impeachment stuff. I especially love what it's doing to all of the truly crazy leftists. And anyway, Kevin McCarthy, the Speaker of the House, he's announced that, there will be an impeachment inquiry against Joe Biden, which will allow an even more thorough, even deeper investigation than just Comer is able to, guide on his own. And they're determined to reveal crucial evidence that they say supposedly shows Joe Biden actually accepting bribes and compromising the interests of the American people, you and me, abroad for his own gains. And we all know how it looks. We all know what any reasonable, critically thinking person sees when they look at this stuff. But according to the mainstream media and all the people, all the parrots out there that repeat them, nothing like that exists. It's just all smoke and mirrors. Literally dozens and dozens of smoking mirrors. Smoking texts, smoking bank accounts, smoking money to grandkids, but not the one that no one's supposed to mention. Smoking phone calls, smoking emails with fake names. It's just all a big misunderstanding. And the Democrats, of course, they have these same hilarious objections and claims of no evidence. And the GOP, they seem prepared to argue their case for the foreseeable future. It's probably going to go into next year.
And so this is the constant and persistent dysfunction, chaos, and just complete disorganization on the part of the Republicans who cannot run the government. And instead, what they are doing is focusing on doing the bidding of Donald Trump, distracting from Donald Trump, and trying to launch a completely baseless, meritless impeachment investigation. It is one thing to actually go forward with any misconduct, but we're not talking about impeaching Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden is being dealt with by the Department of Justice. There is no evidence, none whatsoever, and I don't care how much they say otherwise. I looked at it. There is no direct evidence that President Biden was involved in any way, shape, or form in Hunter Biden's business dealings, and they would be going forward with an impeachment inquiry based on lies.
Wow, man. I mean, I still can't believe how much people can really convince themselves to ignore no evidence. I mean, look what we all see. I mean, that's the best part. And, now we get to find out. Now we get to find out if this really is evidence. We get to find out which side has allowed their confirmation bias to just run completely friggin' wild and literally destroy their ability to think. I have a guess. I'm a little biased, but I have a guess on what side, what that answer will land. But I think we're in for at least one very significant revelation at the end of all this. The Republicans just seem so incredibly confident in the evidence that they have. And honestly, I am so not used to seeing confident or even competent Republicans. So, I have to think that if they did not have the goods, they'd still be acting like a bunch of wimps. But they're not. Something has changed. And it's interesting to watch for sure. They must actually believe that they have the goods needed to prove that Joe Biden did indeed accept bribes, which really, honestly, is the most logical explanation. This, is a very, very wealthy family that has really no noteworthy reason besides a book deal a few years ago, maybe two book deals, I don't know, to have amassed so much wealth and so much property. But according to the mainstream liberal media, we're not supposed to even question how the Biden family and good old simple Amtrak Joe came into millions upon millions of dollars without selling anything tangible or anything at all. And it's almost taboo to even question it. And if you question it, well, you just don't understand the, pains of addiction. Or my favorite, you've just never felt a father's love, because this story is, just a story of a father's love. 10% for the big guy because he's just so loving. It's crazy. It's insane. It's more than crazy. You know, it's not only the Democrats who are claiming that there's no evidence, but mainstream liberal media reporters are singing the same tune. One poor gal, she made the mistake of questioning GOP congressman about the lack of evidence, and I'm sure that she regrets it. And this you have to see. But guys, before I show you this, thanks to everyone that's been subscribing and commenting. Really, really appreciate the support. We're building an awesome community together, guys, and I'm having a lot of fun. If you haven't already, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. Check this out.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I just ask, what actual evidence do you have as opposed to allegations to show to the American public that would merit an actual impeachment inquiry of Joe Biden and prove that today isn't just about some of you?
Oh, I don't know.
Bullied Speaker McCarthy for the sake of enacting political revenge.
This isn't about political revenge. We have the bank accounts. We can see, ma'am, you can see that the homes that the Bidens own can't be afforded on a congressional or Senate salary. You also understand that it's not normal for family members to receive millions of dollars from overseas interests. Those things aren't normal. That's not normal to have 20 shell companies. These things are not normal, and it alludes to not only just widespread corruption, but money laundering, if not influence peddling itself. And we also have the president, the vice president at the time, on record saying that the prosecutor was fired. Well, son of a bitch, the prosecutor was fired, right? Because the prosecutor was going after the company that his son was working on. That's what we have. If you can't see that, if you are that blind, look, I'll turn it over to the attorneys.
People can't see that. They think it's political revenge.
It's because you don't report on it.
No, you're not,
We're here reporting on it today.
I'm not sure how you know what the American people think, but here's what they might wonder. Actually, if you're a federal prosecutor, you would be asking yourself, how can there not have been an indictment for a FARA violation against Hunter Biden? How can there possibly, my understanding and discussions with staff have confirmed my impulse that this would be very much the basis of a Foreign Corrupt Practices Act investigation, given the circumstances that we know. The question is, you know, it's funny, after we come out of the events of, that John Durham, for example, testified to our committees about how investigations proceeded through our investigative agencies without proper predication. It's not that you have to prove the case. It's not that, you understand, to this point, there's not been a single subpoena to a Hunter Biden bank account or a Joe Biden bank account or any other Biden family member's bank account, because until an impeachment inquiry commences, that's not a jurisdictional possibility. Well, it would be stretching jurisdiction to do that. But there's ample predication at this point in time based on that very unusual set of circumstances, which is for no apparent payment for expertise or services rendered. Biden family members writ large received over $20 million.
That we know of.
It is very simple for someone just to insist there's an absence of evidence. But if you can look in the face of that and contend that, that's, you know, anyone has a right to their opinion. What they can't do is change the facts.
And I invite you to go to the website clyde.house.gov/Biden crime family, and you will see all the evidence from the Oversight Committee. You will see all the evidence. And if you're willing to read it, I think you'll be convinced.
Thank you all.
Dude, like absolutely freaking wow. Guys, I have never seen a Republican nut up quite like that. You know, those folks, they did not hold back when addressing this poor reporter. I feel bad for her. You know, and in my opinion, she's deliberately ignoring the evidence. And actually, no, I probably don't believe that. I think it's worse than that. I think she has actually no clue about any of the evidence. You know, she's probably never even looked at it. She's literally just parroting the same talking points, staying on narrative. And if you saw my video about Rogan and Barry Weiss, even the best reporters these days have gotten to a place where they're just repeating things that they heard from other poorly informed propagandists. And it's freaking amazing. You know, my favorite part was when the lady said, well, the American people don't believe. And he said, because you don't report it to them, which, how freaking true is that? How true is that? You know, the second you tell someone the stuff that we see, they don't believe it. They think you're making it up. It's all crazy. But I love that this inquiry is really going to allow them to really get the goods that they need to tie off these few loose ends. It doesn't sound like there's very many of them out there. You know, there can't be many. with everything that they have and everything they know. But, this is the rationale behind their actions, But that doesn't stop the mainstream media outlets like CNN from really, really struggling to come to terms with the fact that the GOP has initiated an impeachment inquiry against Joe Biden, whom they, for some reason, through everything the man has done, Afghanistan and all the lies and just really having cognitive struggles allegedly and all this stuff, they just stick with him through everything. They adore him, and I really don't understand. Remember when Trump was impeached with literally no actual evidence, just feelings and hysteria, impeachment was perfectly acceptable. But now they worry about the process being abused. Even CNN viewers, they're going to start to see through this stuff.
But then there's going to be the politics of how do you move through this in a way that doesn't necessarily blow up in your face, given, as you all have said, we have not seen any evidence, hard evidence, directly connecting wrongdoing on the part of then Vice President Biden, now President Biden, and Hunter Biden's business dealings or the ongoing Hunter Biden investigation. Now, I want to add one thing, though. What Kevin McCarthy does have in this moment on his side is public opinion. I mean, we just released a poll last week, and we saw that despite that lack of evidence having been presented, a majority of Americans believe something afoot here. I mean, 55% in our poll said they think President Biden has acted inappropriately during the course of this investigation while he's been president. North of 6 in 10 Americans think that either Biden did something illegally or acted immorally or in bad faith in some way, did something wrong here when it comes to the business dealings of Hunter Biden when Joe Biden was vice president. So there is a perception issue that the White House is going to have to battle, and that is the perception issue that the House Republicans and Kevin McCarthy right now are leaning into. Both sides are going to need the evidence or lack thereof to make their final case to the American people as this goes forward. I would just note one thing. Manu made a very smart comparison looking back to 2019 when Nancy Pelosi and House Democrats launched that initial Trump impeachment inquiry. One thing that is so fascinating to me about the difference in the politics internally in the House at the moment, Nancy Pelosi did that when some of her moderate frontline members sort of flipped and decided they had been so reluctant about moving ahead with the impeachment, especially those with like national security credentials, a lot of those freshman members, they got on board with that. And that's when Nancy Pelosi went forward. Here, it is the reliable, solid, hardcore conservatives pushing McCarthy here, and those frontline members who determine Kevin McCarthy's majority have clearly not yet been fully on board with this. And so it's a difference in the internal politics in the way each of these speakers handled it. And then I just think, guys, we have to step back and look. Did our founders envision impeachment, high crimes and misdemeanor, as now a sort of quadrennial political tool for no matter which party is in power in the White House or in the House, that this is just becoming a way of life? I've been covering American politics for north of 20 years now. This will now be the fourth presidential impeachment process, at least, getting kicked off in that time. And it had been a long time prior to that. Nixon obviously didn't move forward to a formal impeachment charge, but this is now the way of American political life. And I am not sure that that is a healthy thing for our system.
Can you guys freaking believe this moron? Arguing that this is not what the founders intended. They did not envision a nation where political parties would use impeachment as a tool to try and remove the current party in power. While I 1000% agree with him, where was he? These are the same people who were cheering on this exact process, claiming it was entirely legitimate when Trump was a target. Bribery is literally the thing the founders were most concerned about. They weren't worried about phone calls to Ukraine about discovering the bribery. They were worried about the actual freaking bribery. This guy says that when Nancy Pelosi initiated the impeachment inquiry into Donald Trump, or the impeachment itself, she had the support of the moderate members of her party, whereas Kevin McCarthy does not have the support of the moderate members. Well, that's a lesson for Republicans, for one. But for two, the problem is she initiated an actual impeachment. This is a freaking inquiry. to satisfy those moderates and show them that they owe it to their oath to vote for impeachment. Very, very different. But anyway, the funny thing is this. If the Democrats and the mainstream media are upset about this, truly, they only have themselves to blame. They set a precedent by going after Trump, signaling that it is acceptable to impeach a president for petty political reasons. And then after that, they chose a freaking swamp creature who has actually allegedly committed impeachable offenses. What did they think was going to happen? Anyway, guys, that's just my take. Let me know yours in the comments. If you haven't already, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. We'll see you in the next one.